One question I'm often asked is how the frame rate in videos on this channel looks high, or relatively high. This is Star Citizen after all. And so in this video I share my top tips for how to achieve that playable frame rate feel. I'm Forrester, and my channel is all about simulation type games just like Star Citizen. If that sounds good to you, then you might want to subscribe to be notified of future videos as they go live. In this video, we'll start by talking about the server you're connected to, then explore the hardware you're running, the settings you can change in Star Citizen, and if you're an Nvidia user, what you can change in the control panel. Hopefully you won't hate me for this one, but with all of the rest of the tips I go through, this is the one that has the biggest impact. And that's simply switching server. I know this is often a hot topic as to the reasons why, but when I'm recording in-game footage, if the frame rate isn't cutting it, leaving the client open and going back to main menu, waiting a minute, and then joining a fresh server will often improve things. You may need to be prepared to hop a couple of times, but particularly if you're looking for that smooth frame rate experience, that might be worth it for you. It's also worth adding that on very first login, you might do well to wait a couple of minutes before going down that route as things get loaded in fully. It's no secret that Star Citizen can be very demanding of your PC hardware. In particular, and unusually, Star Citizen is much more CPU heavy than many other games. Confusingly, that means that sometimes increasing the graphics settings in-game can improve your performance, since it offloads more tasks from the CPU to the graphics card. This is also a tough section because I'm loath to have the advice be to go buy a better computer, but there are a couple of key considerations that you might like to explore. Firstly, if you play Star Citizen, you really want to get a solid state drive or SSD. A 500GB SSD these days can start from around $50 and can dramatically reduce load times. That is also likely to improve your experience and may help with performance depending on your configuration, as some of the assets are loaded whilst you play the game. Whilst upgrading your CPU and GPU can really improve performance, we'll steer clear of that for this section, as they're often incredibly expensive upgrades and you probably didn't come here for that. But depending on your system, if you've got the option to increase the amount of memory available, that can sometimes be a cheaper way to get a little more performance, especially if your PC is making heavy use of page files in Star Citizen. For a 32GB memory kit, you're probably looking at $125 to $150, but it's really important to check your own system compatibility beforehand. Having memory available for the game to use can increase your frame rate, as more assets can be loaded into the comparatively quick RAM instead of the comparatively slow disk. I include the hardware specifications of the PC I use to record each video in the video description, so you can see exactly what I was running to get the frame rate you see on the screen. Inside Star Citizen, there are a few settings that you can optimize. We've already talked about how experimenting with different graphics settings to find a balance between CPU and GPU usage can help, and you'll want to try out different combinations to see what works well for you. Other settings you can optimize are to disable motion blur. I've decided to keep it enabled as I think it makes for slightly better footage, but disabling it can give you a little boost. You can also disable VSync to improve things, and set your chromatic aberration to 0 too. Finally, if you're like me and have been playing Star Citizen through a few different patches, clearing your user folder might be worth a try. I'm not saying it will give you extra frame rate per se, but it can help with some of the bugs that people encounter with the game, especially if you've been running the same folder for a few patches. For those of you running on an Nvidia GPU, there are a couple of settings that might help. I changed these in the program specific settings so that I can keep different profiles for different games. The settings to look at are texture filtering, and to set that to performance. And if you're running a system with both an integrated and discrete graphics card, you might also want to select the rendering GPU to be your Nvidia card. I hope this has been helpful for some of you looking to get maximum performance from your Star Citizen experience. If you have any other suggestions or tips, please share them in the comments. If you see in the comments to press Alt and F4 for a higher frame rate, please don't actually try that. Although my audience is usually incredibly helpful, so I'm sure that won't appear. If there were any helpful tips on here for you, you might press that like button. Otherwise, as always, thank you for watching.